All right, let's get started. Good evening, friends. Welcome to ITSERVE Immigration Webinar. This is Suresh Kagitapu, ITSERVE Immigration Chair. On behalf of our President, Mr. Raghu Chittimalla, and GB Chair Seshidev Reddy, it's my pleasure to invite you all to immigration webinar sessions. This session today that we are having is exclusively catered for H1 employees, and this webinar is powered by our platinum sponsors, AS Insurance Services, CPAL, Law Office of Thomas V. Allen, OnBlick, Vital Global, Diamonds and Diamond sponsors, AG Fintax, OnBlick, Wisdom Binias. We also have a new platinum sponsor, TrackX. Without further ado, it's my honor to introduce Mr. Rajiv S. Khanna. Rajiv S. Khanna needs no introductions. He's a very well-known, renowned attorney in the field of immigration. You know, I know him since I was on H1. So it is, and I have been running business for 21 years, so you know what it means now. So in our panel, we have our ITSERVE President, Mr. Raghu Chittimalla. Hello, welcome, sir. And we also have our governing board member, Mr. Sudhakar Penna. He's become governing board member by virtue of being one of the past presidents of ITSERVE. So he's here to be moderating with us. And, you know, in between the session, Mr. Raghu will be sharing his thoughts and lines a little bit later. But we'd like to get started. Mr. Sudhakar Penam, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's all yours.
Good evening, all. Good evening, Rajiv. As you wish, I'm just directly pouncing on you with the questions. You know, you talking or you like us to ask more questions to you. So I'm getting on to that. I'm prepared for that. What's happening with the CAP 2021? Is wage level going to be part of the equations, Rajiv?
Okay, so within the last 2 hours, they've announced the lottery dates also, right? You know that.
Oh,
March
no.
9th to March 25th.
Okay.
So the lottery is on, we are good to go. And the wage, as well as the wage-based selection, as well as the heightened wages, both these regulations have been postponed beyond this year. So we've kicked it down the road. Nothing is going to be different. It is the same lottery, same fees, same process this year also. So we are okay for now.
Okay. What should we worry about this CAP? Anything specific which we need to think or discuss or worry about it?
I suspect this CAP, you might, so we've got two balancing factors. On the one side, and this is really, you guys are the experts in this, I have to look to you to teach me what I should be, the way I should be thinking. So we've got the COVID situation, but then we've got all these pent up H1 demand. So are we going to see an explosion of H1? Are we going to see the same diminished H1 as we had last year? I really don't know, because if there is going to be an explosion, that's the only thing I would watch for. What are our chances? Are we going to do well in the lottery? That's the only thing. Other than that, it's the same old, same old. If anything, I expect you saw that they took away the programmer memo also, right? Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so there are some things that Biden administration has come in and changed very quickly. Some will take time, but I think we are looking at a kinder, gentler America. You will do better this year.
Nice, kind words from you. Any thoughts on the new DHS head, Alessandro Mayorkas? What does his past work indicate?
I've never had a drink with him, so I don't know him personally. But what I know of his reputation, well, and he doesn't know me, so we are even. I don't know. What I hear is that he was very pro-immigration, so much so that there was some scandal about giving access to people during EB5 season for certain people who had the access. So it appears that he may be overly friendly to the stakeholders, and that's okay with me.
Okay. What are we expecting under the new administration? Anything more good?
Oh my God, I love to talk about this because when I see the indications of 4 years of chaos and then adults came to town and they took over everything, all of a sudden, you no longer wake up in the morning saying, I wonder what he has done today. Okay. Are we at war with Iran? Are we bombing somebody? So adults are back in town. You can see how professionally everything is being handled. We're not talking about COVID as much because we know it's being handled as best as it can. Look at the executive order. I think the executive order of February 2nd is an example of the way this is going to go. I guarantee it. I can read the tea leaves as any one of you can. You folks have been dealing with this as long as I have, and maybe a few years less. But you know what I'm talking about when I say you look at the executive order and right away you see some things. First thing you see is Biden says this country depends upon immigrants. This is a country of immigrants. That's the way he starts off. Section 1 talks about nothing. We provide jobs, we provide creativity, we provide new outlooks culturally, in art, in science. We are the inventors. We are the job creators. We are at the forefront of COVID-19. I like to hear that. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like all of us are welcome here. First thing, good sign. Second thing, it took them, if you think about the people he's relying upon to make changes, he says, go and make deep cleaning in immigration procedures. Look, we have two pains. We have the pain of law and we have the pain of procedures.
Yes.
Sometimes the pain of procedures is a lot bigger than the pain of law. And if we can remove the pain of procedures, I would probably get some black hair back. I don't know. I'm hoping. So look at the section 2 and 3 of the executive order. Who is he appointing to do these changes? Cabinet level people, 3 of his top people, the Attorney General of the United States of America, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. These are cabinet level people. What does he say to them? Go look at the agencies, report back to me in 60 days, what changes are you going to make? After that, in 180 days, tell me how much you have changed. I like to hear that. Okay. Not that you wake up one morning and say, you know what, Fox TV said something, I should go change everything. Maybe I should fire people by tweet. Somebody is sitting. This is a true instance where somebody was negotiating, one of my friends who's very highly placed, she's negotiating a treaty with a country. I don't want to name names. And they just got up, and all of a sudden, when they went back into the room to negotiate, on the TV, there was a flash that Trump has imposed sanctions upon this country. So these guys don't even know about it. The highest level people in the government didn't know what was going on. That's not going to happen. So I think what I see is definitely an acknowledgement of the role of immigrants in this country, definitely an acknowledgement that immigrants who are highly talented, highly educated, we need them desperately. And 3, but we need to protect the US labor force. How does that appear? Think about how long it took them to delay the wage-based H-1B selection. They waited till the very last moment. They had till the 12th of February to make a decision. They made a decision yesterday, and the dates were announced today. So just a week remaining. That means they are very careful about protecting the US workforce, which we are all for. At the same time, they acknowledge how important the role of immigrants is. That's the way I see it.
Balancing the both. Are we to understand the STEM OPT and OPT is now a valid program? Should we expect more trouble?
Well, it's under appeal, right? The decision that the case that was decided in our favor, in the government's favor, is now under appeal. And I've read through that ruling. I spend 80% of my life reading. I read through that ruling. And to me, the reasoning of the court seemed very sound. The question was, does DHS have the authority to make these regulations? Other side argued, well, the moment you get out of school, you're no longer a student. If you're no longer a student, how can you remain in student status? And the court said, no, you are misreading the law. And remember, whenever there is a discrepancy or a vacuum in law, the agency who's charged with administering that statute, they are allowed to make a reasonable interpretation. Nothing doing, they win. And that's going to happen in the appeal too. I'm pretty sure about it. So I think both the OPT as well as STEM OPT are here to stay.
What about CPT?
Don't get me started on CPT. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. I'll tell you what the problem with CPT is. 5 years ago, I wrote a blog entry in which I warned people that CPT is coming under the gun. This was even before Trump took over. So I can't blame him for that. The situation with CPT is government changed its interpretation of CPT OPT durations overnight. Our earlier understanding forever was that you can have only limited OPT, but you can have unlimited CPT. So there were people who were on CPT for years, 1, 2, 3 years, because that was a part of their course curriculum. Then 5 years ago, I started seeing a pattern where government started telling us, no, CPT beyond 1 year is illegal. So CPT, OPT combined at any one level of education should be only 1 year according to them. Okay. But look at this. Why are schools giving it to us then? Schools are trained by USCIS. DSOs are trained by you. If they have borne it for 5 years and repeatedly they see CPTs coming up before them, obviously they are okay with it. So they are putting people in a situation where CPT, when they want to convert to H1, they have to go outside USA for visa stamping. That's all. So it's, to me, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Hey, Rajiv, beneficiaries are working from home due to COVID, and we haven't filed amendments since they're in the same MSA as the client. Should we file now?
No.
Okay.
If they are already approved for that location, first of all, I've had an argument with some ill-educated lawyer who kept telling me 50 miles is the range. I said, no, 50 miles is not the limit.
Okay.
Read the regulation. It says normal commuting distance. I have won cases 70, 75 miles in New Jersey because that's common. In New Jersey, from, I forget the 2 counties, but the distance of that, we were able to get statistics that 40% of the population is traveling 80 miles. So 70 miles, which my client was doing, was normal commuting distance. So the Department of Homeland Security had to leave us alone because they couldn't audit us beyond that. So first of all, if it is within normal commuting distance of an approved location and it's somebody's home, you do not need to amend and you do not even need a new LCA. But the reason I advise a new LCA, so that if somebody comes looking, they don't just send you a notice of intent to revoke. They know where this guy is working. The only way they have to know where the guy is working is through the LCA. So amend the LCA. It's very easy to do. Doesn't cost you anything.
Yep. Good idea. Thank you. What are the RFE patterns you're observing these days?
I see the craziest things. Yesterday, I saw an RFE. I couldn't help laughing. And this is coming from California. California Service Center has some real interesting characters. The only reason he denied the H-1B, putting my guy, who is a C-level executive, on the street, is because the university professor who evaluated his credentials was authorized to recommend the number of credits, but not to give the number of credits. So the difference between give and authorize was so much that he denied my case. So I was being consulted on that case. And I said, well, just refile it, because luckily he still has time remaining on his status. So we are seeing patterns that are emerging anew, but all the other old stuff that we all know, specialty occupation, failure to maintain status, employer-employee relationship, it has kind of mellowed out a little bit. I don't know what your experience is, but in our experience, it is more mellow than it was before, but there are people coming up with creative new nonsense.
Specific to California.
Specific to California Service Center.
Perms are taking a longer time than previously. Can we talk, or can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, that is a child that belongs to Trump, because he had sent out a memo that figure out ways to quote unquote improve your immigration law handling. And so the Department of Labor was the last one to get on board. Now, because of the COVID-19 situation, they feel that all these applications need to be more carefully reviewed because US workforce is out. And in fact, when we look at, and I always give this example, I said, if you lump neurosurgeons and dock workers together in one basket, there is 6% unemployment. But if you take out neurosurgeons and compare them with the neurosurgeon part of unemployment, there is 0.3% unemployment. If you take out just the IT jobs, there is between 2.4 and 3% unemployment. That's actually 5% is inflation. So less than 5% is not even considered to be any major problem. This is just because we like to chant, lock her up, lock her up. So this is another chant, unemployment, unemployment. Is there unemployment in my sector? That is the question. Okay, so therefore, I personally feel that once adults start looking at these things, you are going to see a completely different handling of your applications and the way the laws are being made. That's what I anticipate.
Is it true there is an increased audits these days?
I'm defending one in Illinois right now. See, I've done about 150 audit defenses. And only once had I had, or twice I had somebody who was actually in major trouble. Normally what happens is and audits are of different kinds, but if we talk about the wage and hour division audits, the wage and hour division audits tend to be cumbersome because they start with 1 year, they can expand it, they stand with one employee, they can expand it. So if, in my view, the number of audits that I have seen pass my desk is about the same. If anything, I saw them after the COVID situation decrease. So right now, I can't say that I see any marked increase, at least not on my desk. So.
What's your take on giving job duties for prevailing wage determination?
Job duties for prevailing wage. Okay. I guess you're talking about leveling, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Okay. So level 1 is almost always challenged. Okay. Level 2 and level 3 are pretty much impossible to distinguish.
Level 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay. And 3 and 4 are even more difficult to distinguish. So you can tell between 2 and 4, but between 2 and 3, there's very little difference.
Okay.
One is competent or professional. The other one is, it's just so difficult to distinguish between the two. In all the audits I have done, level 2 has never been questioned.
Okay. What's the pattern on of TN approvals at the border these days? Are we seeing any denials at the Canadian or the Mexican borders?
No. We have some manufacturing clients with plants in Canada and USA, as well as Mexico and USA. None of them have any problem with the TNs. I haven't seen any so far.
Both the borders.
Both the borders.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
See, because the difference is, in Mexico, you've got to go to the consulate first before you come to the border.
Yes.
But in Canada, you just go directly to the border. But
yes.
Both are doing well. I have no problems.
Okay. Is Trump's presidential proclamation on entry of H1 and L1 still in vogue?
Yes, until March 31st. But on my LinkedIn page, I have posted an infographic, and I'm rather proud of it because I completely cataloged who is exempt and how they are exempt. So I don't know who's connected with me. I think
I'm connected. Yeah, I'm connected.
Also, yeah, just remind me, I'll send you that. I'll send you, and you can post that.
Sure. Thank you. How the consular posts in India, Mexico, Canada are open?
But you know that each consulate post has been allowed to make their own schedule because of the variance in the local COVID-19 problems. I can report for sure that India is doing Dropbox quite well. So any Dropbox cases, they are going through fine. I have a lawsuit pending with a consulate. In fact, we are responding to the motion to dismiss. It's due Monday, where this guy has been stuck in India for 13 months. An H-1B, again, a C-level employee, and they just wouldn't move. Finally, when we sued them, they then said, oh, we are sending the file back to USCIS, etc. And we are disputing those procedures. But the point is, we don't know because it's day to day. You've got to check their website to figure out what is going on. I know they are giving appointments. And if they are giving appointments, that means they are functioning. I talked to another attorney from our India team. He was telling me, he says that as far as we think the COVID-19 is over in India. We are out and about. So I don't know what's going on. It looks like the consulates may be swinging back into business. But these two, I know for sure what I talked about, drop boxes and appointments.
Do you have office in India?
Yes, New Delhi.
Like, do you help H-1B applicants who are stuck there in India with the consulates?
We do whatever needs to be done.
Okay. Thank you. First time H1 should go for stamping. Is it the right time for them to go?
Oh, no. My suggestion to all of you guys, wait until the second report from the Biden committees has been submitted to Biden, which is exactly 60 plus 180, that's 240, right? 240 days. Yeah, 240 days from today, start thinking about visa stamping. Just hold on to your horses for 8 months.
Okay. Thank you. There's a significant delay of H4 process, especially with biometrics. What can you do to move things along? So many H1, H4 EADs who have been working in the country have been out waiting for those H4 EAD extensions to come through, so they're now unemployed. There is an opportunity for them to work, but they're not able to.
Yeah, I can tell you this, that the delay is a pain point the bite my tongue, Biden administration is very aware of. Okay. So I saw one of the committees that was advising President Biden on various options and pain points. I think Bernie Sanders was a member of that. I saw one of their drafts floating around, and delays was definitely a pain point that was pointed out.
Okay.
So we can hope to see some action on it.
Okay. So is it true that H4 EAD is a regulation now and does not need an I-140 approval? Rumor has it.
H4 EAD is a regulation now. Oh, no. Nothing has changed on H4 EAD. H4 EAD is still the same. Remember, H4 EAD was brought to life with a regulation. So it is the regulation, but the regulation does require certain basics, which is one of them is an I-140 approval or an extension beyond 6 years on certain grounds. So one of the two criteria, if it is met, it's the same. Nothing has changed.
I mean, like, are you anticipating anything that I-140 approval not needed in near future? It might change.
Well, you know that in the legislative package that Mr. Biden sent, I mean, I admire this man. He takes the oath on 20th. He sends a legislative package to Congress on 20th. I want these laws to be passed. And one of them was make H4 EAD a part of the statute so nobody can disturb it. So in what way, shape, and mean it will pass, I can't predict. You know that laws can fail and change even at the last moment. So you never know.
Coming to F1 application, any updates on how many visas are being issued for students as some schools are doing online classes?
But these are two different questions, because I had a student contact me from India just 2 days ago. He wanted to come to, he said, I know that schools are ultimately going to open up. So I just want to come on a tourist visa, even though I have a student visa stamp. Can I come on a tourist visa just to get apartment and all and come back? I said, yes, you can. But just make sure you clear your immigration in Abu Dhabi. Don't come all the way to USA to be turned around. So go to Abu Dhabi. If they pre-clear you, you fly to USA from there and do your whatever you need to do, but don't stay here because you're not a student, you're a tourist. So are they issuing more visas, less visas? They're not issuing more of anything right now. Have they issued enough number of student visas? I don't have the statistics, but personally, I think that we have dealt with the pandemic relatively well on the student side. People are still doing classes. There was a lot of uncertainty because of inefficiency, but I guarantee things will get better and better.
Nice. Coming to I-140 downgrades and 485 filing, there is a humongous delay in receipts and biometrics where the checks not being cashed for 3 to 4 months. And we're not sure whether USCIS has received the application, the package or not. Whether
we started getting receipts on October filings last week.
Okay.
So in fact, we lost one of our cases and I feel sick about that. We made a mistake in one of our cases, but by the time the receipt came back or the package came back, it was too late to file the case. So that's going to happen when you shuffle thousands of pieces of paper a day. You can always make a mistake, but when you have these problems with USCIS, our guys are losing their chance at getting into the queue. So yeah, receipts are taking too long, not only for 485s, but also for these guys on OPT, STEM OPT extensions, and they are running into weird situations because what are they supposed to do? They are running that, you have a limited amount of time you can be off work. What are they supposed to do while the receipt is not in hand? So I made some suggestions again on my LinkedIn page. If that comes up, I will explain it more.
Okay. Then we strongly suggest people to go to your LinkedIn for all these answers then.
Right now, yes, because we are rebuilding our site, immigration.com. They are telling me we just moved our servers. We were not able to sustain the load. Rackspace hosts us, but the server that we have our own server. It was not doing a good job. So we are moving everything over. By February, we should be done. Till that comes up, immigration.com, stay with LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, any of those.
Should we apply for premium because of the delays? I-140 downgrades I'm talking about.
Okay, now here is the weird thing about premium. So you know that you cannot premium an I-140 if you don't have an original labor cert.
Okay.
But what I am hearing, and this is what we are trying to, once we get the I-140 receipt, we try to premium it. Why? Because by that time, the original file has been brought to the adjudication officer. So he has the original PERM and they might upgrade it.
Okay.
So once you get the receipt, try premium.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the wonderful questions, Mr. Sudhakar, and the answers are coming right through wonderfully. So we'd like to give you some break here and have our president, Mr. Raghu Chittimalla, say a few lines to greet everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Suresh. Hi, friends. This is Raghu Chittimalla. I'm happy, honored to lead our organization, ITSERVE Alliance, this year in 2021. I live in Dallas. I am associated with ITSERVE Alliance from its beginning. We all started it back in 2010 because there were certain memos that were issued which were hurting our businesses, and a small group of people, we all came together and started this. Now after 10, 11 years, we became such a one of a big prestigious organization when it comes to small, medium businesses which are in IT space. So I sincerely thank all the past leadership teams which contributed to the organization. I would like to give a couple of points to the audience because it is better the more people know who we are, what we do, what our priorities are, and then how we are situated. I will cover in 2-3 minutes only. So again, as I mentioned, we are 1,200 plus small, medium business owners consortium, ITSERVE Alliance. And I'm pretty sure all of you are seeing the logo in ITSERVE Alliance. We are empowering local employment. That is our tagline in ITSERVE Alliance. So we always create jobs here. We support the economy, and we also, as a community give back, we started another subset of an organization to ITSERVE Alliance is called ITSERVE CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility. There also we have a logo saying that empower local communities. So last year we are very proud to raise $250,000 and distribute to the local communities across all our chapters. So we did that. And together we wanted to grow our business, and we share the best practices, and then we leverage our network and create stronger collaboration, grow your business. And then we are here to safeguard our own businesses and our members and also our entire industry. Together 1200 plus, now we have a voice. And we will try to understand the challenges from employees' perspective and employees' perspective. And also there are a lot of sponsors that they're around, like insurance agencies, job boards. They were all like, this is all the entire ecosystem. So we always pay attention to the entire IT services ecosystem, and then we take the measures. And also this is a perfect example, thanks to Rajiv Khanna again. Sir, thank you for your time. We wanted to collectively, we were able to bring people like Rajiv Khanna came on the call, and then 1 hour of his time is huge help for us. And I see a lot of questions in the chat. We are here to help employers, employees, and do whatever is possible. We wanted to bring in industry experts, let them share their experiences, so these small, medium businesses can learn from them, and the employees also. Whoever is there on I know we are broadcasting this on social handles too. So all of you, we are, as a ITSERVE Alliance, we are here for the entire industry. And we always give utmost importance to our employees also. And the way we took some of the bold steps, because collectively we became big, we took some bold steps, went against USCIS, and we won. That is helping a lot of business owners and also employees. So this is simple, like, few points that I thought I will bring it to attention. I know most other people know this, but still it is our responsibility to communicate to the outer audience who we are, what we do, and then what's our interest areas are, and then how well we collaborate each other, and also make sure everybody is growing, and then we are safeguarding the entire industry, including employers, employees, and everybody. That's all I have, Sureshji. And Suresh, thank you so much. And I wanted to thank all our sponsors, platinum sponsors, diamond sponsors. And thank you, Sudhakar, for such a wonderful moderation. And Rajiv sir, thank you so much. Very happy, honored to see you always, and always ready to listen from you, learn from you. Thank you so much. That's all I have. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Raghu. Appreciate it. So I think Ms. Raghu has brought up a good point that in essence, ITSERVE played a big part in putting a check on unfair regulations. What are your comments, Mr. Rajiv Khanna?
Excellent job, guys. I cannot find fault with all the actions that you have taken. I wish we could do more, but so far you have been the only organization that was able to knock away some of the most annoying and unreasonable regulatory, non-regulatory, actually extra regulatory steps that the government took. And we need that. In a healthy democracy, people should be able to step up and say, this is nonsense. We're not going to stand up for it. And see, what happened was, before you had an organization, an individual employer was always reluctant to go up against the government. But having an organization has made such a huge difference. I'm a fan, gentlemen. I'm going to ask you one more thing. And this is not planned. It is something that I've been watching. I want you folks to step up and offer internships to Indian students on OPT. Why? Because the first year of OPT, they need 20 hours each week of paid or unpaid employment. So give them projects, don't pay them, it's okay. Give them projects, and that you can certify, make sure that they are doing 20 hours. Just say that you have these projects, at least you don't have to worry about your status. Some of these young men and women are really hurting. So I would appreciate if you can make an effort on that. And if you want me to put you together with some student organizations, I can do that.
Yeah, please connect us, Rajiv. We want to do as part of our ITSERVE CSR. We
Perfect.
love to do it and we want to give back to the society.
Perfect, because I hear so much of their problems. And I have to tell you this, but somebody was asking me, why are you so sympathetic towards the students? I said, saas bhi kabhi bahut hi. I came to this country as a student, OPT, all of this I've done.
Yes, sir. Actually, we are, in fact, some of our member companies in my company too. So we encourage, we support them on some of our internal works or some of the projects we are doing, but we will definitely take your suggestion, serious note, and we will also get connected to the other organizations where we could quickly collaborate.
So whom should I connect with? Do you have a
connected to me, Raghu or Radha? You have our email IDs.
I have all of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have
Suresh, I have a couple more questions.
Please.
Okay.
And wrap up, then you can pick up the questions from the chat window and
sure.
Rajiv, can a person with Eb3 EAD get their EAD or GC through Eb2 when Eb2 becomes current?
I have been looking at that issue and I don't understand what the problem is. My answer is yes. If you have used an EAD under Eb3, you can still convert right back to Eb2. I don't see why not. Just remember one thing. When you file the downgrade, don't file it as an amendment, file it as a new I-140.
Okay. New I-140, got it. Rajiv, heard that there is something called national interest policy until March 31st.
Yes.
And scrutinizing how important the candidates for stamping. Is it true?
Yes, it's called national interest exemption. So if you just Google visa NIE exemptions,
okay,
you will come up with all the material you need. National interest exemptions.
Okay.
So we've gotten some based upon COVID-19 manufacturers that we have who are developing personal protection equipment, masks, all those things. So yeah, you can get those. It depends upon, and it's not only, it looks kind of unreachable, but things like technology, things like, I have another client who's doing this right now. What do you call it? Not locomotion, transportation, things like, so there's a lot of industries that are mentioned as essential industries, even food industries, and technology is one of them. So you might be able to look at that as a method, but the only problem is you are so close to March 31st, and the way the consulates move, it might not be worth all the time and effort that you will need.
Okay. Rajiv, one H1B employee of IBM completing his by March 31st is completing his 6 years.
Okay.
And IBM did not file his perm application. He got a perm application filed from future employment from a third party, and that is still in process, and it might take few more months. After March 31st, what are the options for him to stay in the country until his perm and I-140 gets approved? Is it a B1, B2, a bridge visa, applying for a bridge, staying in the country and get the I-140 approved and move back to H1? Is it suggestible or no?
First thing they should do is they should have their resume evaluated if an O1 is possible.
Okay.
And then I would want to find out which country is their wife from, because sometimes cross-chargeability can create situations. If he's qualified for O1, he might also be qualified for an EB1A, which is in any case quite close to current. So there are several things that can be evaluated. Mostly, I would look at, like I said, O1. The B1, B2 option, you're almost always going to get denied at the end of it, but it takes them 7 months to deny so you can stay. But what is the point of staying if you can't work? I would rather have this guy work from India than stay here without being able to work. Okay. So remind me to talk to you one day about the whole mess that the government has created about H-1B employees working from India. That's another can of worms, another lawsuit waiting to happen.
Okay. Regarding the Dropbox, is there any way to check the dates availability for people in India to use the Dropbox?
I don't know what the Dropbox procedures are. Sudhakarji, I have become the system architect and I don't code anymore. So I haven't coded for 30 years. So therefore, my job is really as a legal strategist rather than knowing all these details, which other people in our team do. And they are much better at it, much younger too. So they remember everything that needs to be done. But everything is available online. Dropbox facilities are quite well documented. You can go online and just go, for example, Chennai Dropbox, and you'll be able to see what facilities and what sort of things you need to do.
Okay. And one last question from me. Would litigation be the way to handle situation under Biden administration?
If you need to, of course. Just because it is Biden doesn't mean he can't be sued. If they take an unreasonable step or a step that appears to us to be almost begging for a litigation, definitely, why not? But I suspect you're going to see a drop in litigations.
Okay, nice. Suresh, you can take it over from here for the remaining part of the questions.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Very interesting questions that you have put together, and answers came right off bat. And Rajiv did a wonderful job answering the question. So again, this is a session that is geared for employees, and there are a lot of employees that are connected on Facebook Live as well, in addition to the Zoom call. So if your employer is not part of ITSERVE, we request you to talk to them and ask them to become a member of ITSERVE. The more members that we have, the more strength that we will have, and the better that we can do in terms of litigation or lobbying to put a check on unfair regulations. Truth of the matter is the country needs H-1 visas to keep the jobs within the country and grow the economy. And ITSERVE has been doing has taken a first step for that, and many other organizations joined following that. So please talk to your employer and make sure that they are part of ITSERVE so that we have bigger voice.
I would definitely second that, and I'm not getting paid anything for this. I think having an organization that has already proven itself. See, when you are trying to prove yourself and you're still breaking in, it's difficult. Now that you're like IBM of associations, the name sells itself. You don't have to go selling. So I think it's a good investment for anyone. I would agree with you.
Thank you, Rajiv. We appreciate your endorsement for our organization. Yeah. So I have some more questions from the employees that, so I would like to read it out for you. With
Yes.
H4 EADs, we are hearing about months and months of delays at a lot of service centers, especially California service center. What is the experience here for law firm in dealing with H4 EADs?
Awful.
Awful.
And somebody was asking me, what can they do about the delays? I said, I don't know what they can do about the delays, but they could do something about the rules. They could come up with a rule that says an H4 EAD is going to be just like an I-485 EAD, where if you are not able to get the EAD, you have a grace period of 180 days to continue working. Why is there different types of EADs? They should all be the same. They're all work authorizations, right? So when the extension is pending, let me have an extension and a grace period of 180 days to continue working. That's not difficult.
I thought I saw a memo somewhere that says that a new bill that is against H4 EADs was dropped. Is that what are your thoughts? What is your perspectives?
I don't even pay attention to bills because between the bill and the law, there's a huge distance.
Right. Yeah. So but it's the fact that it was the H4EAD bill, anti-H4EAD bill was removed is a big relief to the H4EAD community.
Yeah, they was not gonna go through. They just don't have the votes.
Okay. So here's a question from somebody regarding what happens when someone travels outside the country when H4 extension is pending, and what if they travel when H4EAD is pending? Will
both of these situations are okay. The only thing is when USCIS first gave us the H4EAD regulations, they said it's okay to travel, but it can delay your EAD a little bit. When you say little bit, I don't know what, I won't take a chance. Let's put it that way. But you know what, let me point something out to you. And this is something I learned from the community. I did not think of this. People said, you know what, to avoid biometrics, what we are doing is we are going to India or any country which is offering visas, get my H4, come back and then apply for EAD. That way I don't have to go through biometrics. I don't know if it is working, but people are trying this.
That's interesting. So to that question that I asked earlier, it's okay for H4 extension, person having H4 extension to travel outside, but not for the person with H1 under extension?
It's okay too. You see, here is the interesting thing, and this is documented. This is not something which is gray. Both H4, anytime you have an extension, well, not anytime, but most of H1, H4, yes. When you have an extension pending, you can travel and come back as long as you have a visa. So as soon as you file the H1, you can leave and come back within the life of your visa. Previously, they used to insist you must have a receipt. Now they don't even ask about that.
I'm talking about denial of extension of H1 visa. One of our employees for whom we had the H1 extension under process, he traveled outside, and because I-94 is not valid, we had a, that was denied, I think, and
no, that's an improper denial. That's the kind of denial that needs to be walked down to the district court.
Okay.
Because as long as, see, it is written, it's documented. And by the way, we won an interesting case. I filed a lawsuit. We filed 15 lawsuits in the last, say, 7 months. We've settled 14 of them. 15th one we are fighting with the consulate. But government tried to deny one of my cases. They said, we're not going to give him status because he filed an extension of an H1B when his previous extension was not approved. Sorry, he filed a transfer when previous extension was not approved, and he's out of time. And I said, no, look at the regulations. You're reading them wrong. The plain language of the regulation says we can do this. My case was approved within 8 days. They gave me the I-94. So do not be afraid to go to the court. It's okay. There are cases. I'm not saying that all of these cases are going to be that easy, but there are times, and most of these cases really have no reason not to be approved. Government is so far out of line. They need to be corrected.
That's right. Yeah. So with respect to litigations, I guess when my favorite topic that, other than ITSERVE, is there any other organization that is doing litigations? We don't know about any other organizations.
Oh my God, yes. There are some big ones, huge ones. American Chamber of Commerce, National Manufacturers Association, NAM, National Apparel Manufacturers Association. They've done some of the largest lawsuits. They've done a great job. Yeah.
Talking about Chamber of Commerce, we heard about an incident where one of our employees of one of our members, he traveled for visa stamping. He got an RFE and saying that, submit evidence that you're a member of Chamber of Commerce.
Yes. Well, you know why? Because American Chamber of Commerce and NAM and some universities filed a lawsuit against the visa ban in California. So those company members are exempted. Not everybody, but it was not a class action. So all our clients, we just said become members of NAM or become members of American Chamber of Commerce. They're all getting visas.
Oh, so that is the secret for visas? Become a member of a Chamber of Commerce? I'm going to talk to my HR tomorrow and get that file. Is there any such benefit? How can we negotiate for such a benefit for ITSERVE as well?
I do not know, but one thing I would say is just make sure that there is not a cutoff date on the memberships. I don't think there is. I don't think there is. The people that I'm talking were already members of NAM and Chamber of Commerce. But I don't know if it should work. I think it does. I don't think there's a cutoff date, but look into that. It is actually on the American Chamber of Commerce litigation's website.
Okay. So that is for the visa stamping. They file the litigation, and then only the members of Chamber of Commerce are able to do it. So
They're all exempt from the visa ban.
that's why consulate office is testing their luck and see if they're members of Chamber of Commerce before they can reject the visa. So, all right, that's good to know. Raghu, you have any comments on that one? The Chamber of Commerce and your advice for members regarding visa stamping recommendation?
No, it's very interesting to know that. So I didn't know, but we can definitely take a closer look at it and see how.
Someone from Detroit company's employee been to India for stamping, and they were asking about the Chamber of Commerce local membership.
That's what Suresh mentioned. That's interesting to know. We'll see. We'll think through and then see if there could be any opportunity for us to.
That judgment makes for very interesting reading. The court order on that is Trump says that he's doing it to protect US workers, but he's not allowed to do that. He has a lot of power in setting foreign policy. He has very limited power in affecting domestic policies. When Congress has already made a selection, how they are going to balance the interest, he cannot take over it's a very interesting judgment. When you read it, people like me, we get a thrill out of it because it's such a good statement of law.
Can any other organization file a similar lawsuit or join as a plaintiff and get the same benefit?
You could, if you have California members, you could just do it out of California, and there is a way you could do that. And I think I don't know what it is called, but one of your litigators should be able to tell you. I forget exactly what it is called, but you can actually, based upon that lawsuit, piggyback another lawsuit on it with the same facts.
Raghu sir, can you take a look at this and see if we can include ITSERVE as a co-plaintiff?
Definitely, Suresh. Let's take a look at it. Yeah. Thanks for the suggestion, Rajiv.
And there's another question from one of the another question that people I received an email from, and somebody was holding I-140 approval and H-1B visa for 2 more years. Suppose H1 is maxing out in a year. So he wants to switch his wife status to H4 and H4 EAD. So what is the possibility to file a change of status to H4 and continue on working on H1 until he gets the H4 EAD? Is that okay? So
I'm not quite sure I follow. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't really follow this.
Let me explain that again. And it's the employee is on H1 and his wife is also on H1.
Oh.
The employee is on has I-140. The wife doesn't have I-140. So wife.
I got it. So you want to go to H4 under your wife's visa, but you have the I-140 approval. Can you port that benefit over to your wife now?
Okay.
She has to have the I-140 approval to give you the EAD. You can't use your I-140 to get her EAD through her. So yeah, no, that can't be done.
The other part of the question is, employee has a 140 and the spouse doesn't have the 140.
Right.
So she wants to change her status from H1 to H4.
Okay.
Because husband has the 140, so she wants to get the H4 EAD and work out of there. But as you know, the H4 EADs are not coming right away.
Right.
So, and it can take a while for the change of status. So the question is, how long will it take for the H4 to become effective? Will she get the EAD as soon as she gets the H4 status?
Okay. So here is what I would do, and I would take a chance with this. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. So we are allowed to apply for H1 or H4 6 months ahead of the start date. So if I apply in January, I will ask for H4 change of status from June, and I will ask for EAD from June. Now I've got 6 months to continue working on H1. So that's the best I can do with this.
That's a very good idea. Yeah, we didn't know that. We thought we always thought that it is change of status, requesting the change of status as soon as possible. But yeah, so
Yeah, 6 months ahead of time.
So we can do that only 6 months ahead of time. We can do it 1 year ahead of time, right?
No, just 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
What is the magic in that number? I do not know. But that's the wisdom of Congress.
Right. But it would have been much better if they approve the petitions in within the 6 months. But not all the petitions. It's not happening.
They're not.
Yeah. So, and we saw December 20, there's something about December 22nd, 2000 memo, guidance memo on H1B computer related positions.
Yeah.
What does it mean for H1 petitions filed for program analyst jobs or system analyst jobs?
Okay, well, this is IT is my favorite subject. I always tell people I have 3 loves in my life. Botany was my first love. That's my first degree. Law was always going to be my wife. I knew that. But IT is my woman on the side. So every moment I either build Linux boxes, or one vacation I actually set up Hadoop. I wanted to see how Hadoop works. I had 3 servers lying around, so I actually put Hadoop on it. The problem with IT jobs is, first of all, you know that nomenclature means nothing. You can call somebody a programmer and they're working as a system architect. Okay. What is the difference between these jobs? So a software developer, what used to be called software engineer, does design, development, which is coding, design, development, systems analysis. Before that, you go look at the requirements, functional, technical requirements, get them all together. Then you flowchart it, then you design it, you decide about memory allocation, things like that, which is software engineering. So a software developer does everything, start to finish, even involved with testing, involved with implementation, involved with support. Software developer does everything. Systems analyst just does 2 things. Gets the requisition, flowcharts, and then maybe tests the system, helping with testing. Everything else is about finding better alternatives, but they're not hardcore. They're not supposed to do hardcore development stuff. Then the programmer is supposed to do only coding, no systems analysis. But these days, because of the methodology we use, agile methodology, everybody is participating in the process. In a sprint, everybody has a voice. So your QA person has a voice, your programmer has a voice, your software developer has a voice. So these differences are becoming lesser and lesser. Now, what the government said, that we don't think programmers are professionals because you can be a programmer out of high school. And they sent out a memo like that. And now Biden administration said that memo is no good. So they are revisiting that policy. That's what is happening. And what's going to happen, they've also said, don't use that memo to decide even pending cases. So if you have a case filed as a programmer, that would come under that scratching out of the old memo. Does it affect systems analysts or programmer analysts? Programmer analysts, maybe, because programmer analyst is a category that contains development as well as requisition of the system functional requirements, technical requirements. I think you can win a case for a programmer analyst even now. But it does not affect systems analysts.
Okay, so systems analyst that doesn't affect the systems analyst. The systems analyst, you don't recommend filing H1 under systems analyst at this time? I
was appearing as an expert witness in federal court downtown here, and my client was under criminal indictment. I had been hired to be an expert witness in their behalf. And the prosecuting lawyer was very upset with me because he couldn't get under my skin. He kept telling me, I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to be upset about anything because this guy can't hurt me. So he keeps asking me these questions. Finally, he said, I've read all your articles. I said, well, I appreciate that. And he goes, well, and this is not what you say in your articles. I said, sir, there's a difference between compliance and consent. We may comply with the laws and yet not consent to them. So remember, compliance is always cheaper. As practical people, we want to comply as much as possible. So right. Systems analyst is the position that I would want to evaluate very carefully. I don't want to lie about anything, but this is my H1B. I cannot change just the job description. but I can change the job duties. I could tell you, Sureshji, why don't you put some system design in his work as well? Give him some system design work also. All of a sudden, he's software developer. Why not?
Yeah, very good. So before we continue with the next session, we have to thank our sponsors. And every week we would like to run a small clip of our sponsor. This week, the sponsor that we are running the clip for is Vital Global. So if with your permission, would like to run this small clip. I think there's a audio issue here with
Yeah.
so not able to download play the audio. So we're going to check it later. Sorry for that, but we'd like to thank our sponsors, our platinum sponsors and diamond sponsors that we have who made this session possible. So thank you all of it, and especially Vital Global for this time. So we'll proceed with the next question. It is for one of our employees, the H1 extension is pending beyond 240 days now. We also filed his I-485 EAD and advance parole in October 2020. Since the I-94 expired now, can he transfer to another company after 240 days? If the
First
case,
of all,
yeah.
there is no magic about 240 days. And the lawsuit that I described to you earlier, in which we challenged this government's policy of not allowing people to move companies with an I-94 if their previous status had expired, because I said they are still in status, you're just calling it authorized period of stay. Are you going to be able to win? See, we didn't win in court, we won in settlement. So we don't have a judgment that we can force down the government's throat. The bottom line is, first of all, when they start talking about 240 days, that means this guy was relying upon the grace period to continue working. The grace period is unlimited if you ever file an extension with change. It is unlimited grace period, not 240 days. Okay, so I don't know how you have filed the case. If you have filed it with change, you can continue working. Can he transfer? Probably not. He'll have to go outside USA. If you're okay with that, great. Or if you're okay to walk it downtown to a court, do it. Otherwise, let him stay.
Okay. So if the case is approved without I-94, can he go to Mexico or Canada and get his stamping done?
Yes, yes. You can. This is called TCN processing, third country national processing. Every consulate in the world does it. They might decline it if they are very busy locally. So always best to check ahead of time. And the reason it is because of the PIMS database. Now all your information, your employees' information is in the database that is accessible globally. So therefore you can walk into any consulate.
Okay. And this is regarding the I-485 RFEs. I hear that thousands of 485 petitions were rejected because of some small clerical mistake of omission. So, but the numbers are not current anymore. Do you have any thoughts regarding that? What can be done? Will it work if you file it as a non-pro-tunc and refile the submission by correcting that omission?
I think you should get in touch with your litigators and file a lawsuit. Some of these cases would have to be accepted by the government. There was a case that USCIS settled. There was not a judgment against it. They just settled it. Yes, I think so. I think it's called Vangala. That's the guy. I know the lawyer's name. Nightingale was one of the lawyers on that. There was a lawsuit in which they settled because they were rejecting things like you didn't put NA here, you left the other names used blank. So the government had to settle. This is very close to that situation. Where non-essential information is missing, the case cannot be rejected. Issue an RFE. That's your regulation.
Right.
So the difference would be, see, the case I lost, the case we screwed up, is where we didn't have the I-140 signed sheet. We put a blank sheet. Didn't realize it was going through like that. 3 people reviewed it. Nobody noticed it. So those things can happen. And we are not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Things can go blank as long as it is not something that kills the case. So what can kill the case? Signature is one of them. Wrong fees is one of them. If you don't attach something considered to be essential. So when you look at the instructions of the I-140, it tells you what documents are required. If you miss anything required, you may be out of luck. But here and there, small information missing, walk it to the court.
Right. Thank you. So right now, H-1B Dropbox eligibility is already extended till March 31st. Is there any chance for that extension? The interview waiver Dropbox eligibility.
I am not aware of anything, but remember what I told you was there is a deep cleanse going on. So you can think about USCIS is getting a root canal treatment here. All the rotten teeth are getting taken out. And I wouldn't be surprised because remember, State Department is involved. State Department is visas. So the Secretary of the Department of State is also involved in this. And I suspect a lot of these procedures are, because what are they trying to do? They said, we want immigrants to feel welcome. How do you feel welcome? But by not letting them wait 9 months, 10 months, 11 months for an approval. So I think all of this is going to get better and better and better. I don't have any definite information yet.
There is this question on Facebook Live from regarding H-1B DOL wages. The wages have been arbitrarily increased, with no justification for the increase, like 60%, 30%, anywhere in between. So all the salaries, the DOL prevailing wages went up, right, with the DOL wage. So what do you think is going to happen, or what is the possibility?
Why should it bother you? You can always use third-party sources. You can go to a private survey and get $15,000 less than what the government is saying. And I don't think government is going to stand long on that. First of all, that has been pushed back to May 14th. It is not applicable right now. Second, when I started, I think I wrote an article on this for the Economic Times, but I don't remember who I wrote it for. I pointed out 7 problems with the regulations right away. First of all, their data is unreliable. Second, their data is insufficient. Third, they have no authority to just completely arbitrarily change their scale. It doesn't make sense. So remember, courts will not interfere with anything that is reasonable. But if something becomes unreasonable, it gets challenged. Most of the cases that you will see are easily won are those that are won on procedures. The cases that are difficult to win are those where government's reasonableness is challenged. But I think this is one of those cases where it is definitely open to challenge. When the data itself is defective. I mean, look at how outdated the data is. You know that the position of data scientist has existed in the IT industry now for 20 years, more than 15 years. The government doesn't have an entry for it. Department of Labor has no entry for data science. What do you use? You use research scientists, computer research scientists. That's a completely different job. So how can you rely upon a database like that? Don't bind me to something that makes no sense. So first, it is delayed. Second is it's going to challenge. And third, you can get somebody else to do the survey for you.
So when we get an alternate based survey, we need to make sure that the job description is matching with the source, right?
I would say so. But look, no job can be 100% match.
Right.
But if it matches mostly, I think you are okay. The third-party survey has to meet certain criteria. I think there are 8 or 9 of them. For instance, it has to be reliable third party. It cannot be more than, I think it's 2 years old. It has to be the most recent version. It must use statistically significant samples. It must contain mean, median, average, something like that, all of those. So there's a bunch of requirements, and there are many, many wage survey companies that meet all those requirements. But the problem with private surveys is you may not have them for smaller areas. For all the big areas, you will. But if you are working in Little Rock, well, not Little Rock is a big city, but let's say you are working in, I don't know, Hicksville, Pennsylvania, you may not have anything there.
Exactly. Yeah, I noticed that issue. And in that situation, should we go to the bigger metropolitan area that is nearby?
That's what I would do, work from home in a bigger metropolitan area.
Where we can get alternate way survey. Yeah, got it. So if a person going for H1 visa stamping in India and he needs to work out of a home in India for the client, how long can he do that? Is there any limitation?
The simple answer is if you are getting paid the H1B salary, you can work there as long as you like. No problem at all.
Okay, that's good to know. So, Sudhakar sir, do you have any more questions that you like to?
Did you cover this from the chat window? There is a chat window.
Some of them I covered. So some more.
Yeah, there's like 60 questions right now. 61 questions. 29 in one window and 32 in the other.
Right.
So,
So-
Suresh, did you pick these questions?
Not all of them, they've been kind of overwhelming as you're talking. So if you want to ask some of these questions,
Yeah.
to
Rajiv, like Jan 2019 EB2 priority date, is it worth to change to EB3 based on February newsletter or new dates?
If I have a choice, look, this is what I would do. If our clients are okay paying for it, I would actually first get an EB2 approval and keep it, and then get an EB3 approval and keep it. So that way I have both approvals. It's okay to do that. It's perfectly legal. Generally speaking, I would keep both approvals, but not amendment. Do two separate petitions.
Okay.
Get one approved, sit on it, do the second one approved. You don't have to sit like a month, just do it a week or 10 days later.
Okay. Extension of Presidential Proclamation 10014 and 10052. The proclamation suspends entry of non-immigrants in the categories of H1B. Is it
Right.
still till March 31st, 2021?
Right.
Valid. Any progressive movement in the final action dates can be expected.
Well, when you look at the reasoning, you know that there are very complicated rules how the visas are distributed. There is no country can get more than 7%. You cannot allocate more than a certain percentage in each quarter. And everything is based upon an anticipation of what visa numbers are going to be. These are all statistical projections. These are not real numbers. So what you saw, all of a sudden dates became current in one quarter, is because of the sharp fall in demand. Because of COVID-19, all these bars, people were not coming through. So you had all these visas available that could be allocated during this time. Now, could this situation arise again? Yes. When could it arise again? Normally in the first quarter of the year, normally I would say, and that would be October 1st. So because government fiscal year begins on October 1st, ends on September 30th. So in the first quarter of any year, you could expect big swings unless something else happens in the middle of the year that causes the demand to fall. And then the US Department of State could project the numbers and make the current dates current again.
Can we apply for extension and amendment at the same time?
Yes, we do it all the time.
There is a recent movement of EB3 cases, and now it seems to go back to 2014 as compared to EB2, which is still at 2011. Do you suggest changing EB2 to EB3?
not changing, new case.
Case, okay.
Absolutely, do it, keep it. Doesn't hurt you. If the dates become favorable again, you can use it. And by the way, one thing I want to make clear, you can keep swinging one to the other without too much effort. You can go from EB3 to EB2 using the same 485 as long as the dates are current.
H1B is valid till September 30th, 2021, and project extension is June 13, 2022. Is a good time to go for stamping? What is a good answer if visa officer asks me, your visa is valid for 6 months only?
See answer 7 above, which was wait 240 days before you go for any visa stampings. You might have a much easier time.
Is it easier to get new H1 after finishing the initial 6 years of H1B after the recent changes?
There's no change in that. If you have a green card going, you can keep getting extensions like any other kind of H1. No difference.
We have a H1 transfer file with client and home address mentioned in the LCA, and we got an approval for 3 years last month, and the beneficiary has moved to a new location. So what are the options? Do we file an amendment or address change, or updating AR11 will suffice?
No. If the new location of the home is more than normal commuting distance from the old location, an amendment would be needed, unless he's not working from home, he's working from client side. So if his seat has moved more than normal commuting distance, you need to do an amendment.
The H1B extension is pending beyond 240 days now. We also filed I-485 EAD AP in October 2020.
I think we did this question.
Okay.
There's a question from one of the participants. Somebody is doing civil engineering and he's working as a civil engineering job in India, and he wants to change his field to IT while working and doing a online public university. So is that a possibility? And that is the first question. Can he do part-time? If he does part-time or evening course in IT, will that be acceptable for his purpose?
So leaving aside hopes and dreams, if the question is about law, I can answer this, that it is perfectly legal to go to school part-time, online, offline, it doesn't really matter, self-study. H1B allows you to study part-time, no question about it. Maybe even full-time, that's a little bit questionable, but part-time for sure.
So it is possible to, the part-time courses are recognized for H1B purposes?
Okay, now that's a different question. So first, can I go do this course on H1B? Yes. Is this course going to be recognized? What you need to do is, the recognition of any course comes through two sources. First, you need to see which state agency has accredited the course. So let's call it agency XYZ. Okay. So there are usually 1 or 2 agencies in the state that are allowed to credential the courses, accredited the courses. Then you go to the US Department of Education website and you see if that agency is recognized by the DOE. They have a database, very easy to look it up. So once you know that this particular agency is recognized by the DOE and this particular agency, XYZ, is recognizing my course, you are good to go.
Rajiv, first time H1, F1 to H1, can they go to Mexico, Indian citizen for visa, H1 visa?
Absolutely, have a tequila on me, go for it.
I thought a person needs to go to the home country for the first H1 visa stamping.
In the old days, it used to be a problem because they couldn't verify the degrees.
Okay.
Okay. It has become almost a non-existent issue. I don't know what happened, whether the Indian universities started putting their degrees out on the database or on some public site. I don't know, but it has not come up for years now.
That's interesting information. I guess we get so occupied with our work, we don't noticed this recent changes that,
You see, the thing is, if you knew my work, you wouldn't pay me. My God, please stick with your work. Just make money. I'll send you big bills. We are all happy.
noted.
Rajiv, H1B beneficiary filed for H1B extension got intent to revoke during a site visit by USCIS. Can he file for H1B transfer to another company?
Okay, so this is an interesting question. My answer would be yes, but government can say that if the ground for revocation existed from the date of approval, the revocation should attach to the approval date itself. So for instance, you had no degree, but we approved the case on January 1st, but we found out about the problem in December. We can revoke it, but we'll revoke it effective January 1st. We should never have approved it. Okay, but if the ground for revocation developed later on, maybe you were found working somewhere you were not approved for, you can make the argument, I'm here less than 30 days, I'm allowed to do this. I don't know how it would fly, but the bottom line is you won't know how it will work out until you try. So go for it. Do the transfer.
A cognizant employee need to travel to India for H1B stamping. Can he try going now or should he wait?
Well, first thing is, I won't answer questions from cognizant employees unless they become members of ITSERVE Alliance. So if they are not going to do that, I'm just kidding. So remember, I told you to wait 240 days. Wait, let's just wait. Let's just let things settle down. Let the grown-ups take over the reins of the country fully, then go.
So Pinnam, thanks for taking that question, and Rajiv, thanks for your
No, I am very tough about that. No answering unless you're ITSERVE Alliance.
Yeah.
I was on H1B, completed 6 years, didn't had I-140. I was unable to move last March due to COVID situation and border close. As per the advice, applied B2. B2 is rejected now. I moved out in April last year. I would love to know what are the options now to refile since it is rejected, just to maintain the status for the period of 1 month. I stayed in US post 6 years.
Okay.
30 days overstay.
Okay. So you see, unlawful, there is in economics a concept called zero sum. It's almost like being pregnant. You either are or you are not. Okay. So think about pregnancy and 180 days as the same thing. If you are unlawfully present up to 179 days, you are not pregnant. You have no problem. Okay. 180th day, you are barred for coming back from India for 3 years. You can still get a waiver, 212D3 waiver it is called, and you are okay to come back, and in 3 years it goes away. But it's not a good situation. So yours being out of status for just 30 days is not a big deal at all. I wouldn't worry about it at all. It can become a problem for getting a tourist visa or a student visa if they want to make it a problem. But this is COVID times. It's really, you've not really broken any laws that drastically. But for H1B, H4, L1, L2, it is absolutely no problem. Up to 180 days, less than 180 days, you are good.
EB2 to EB3 downgrade. What will be the status of EB2 after EB3 is approved?
Yeah, that's what I told you. Have two separate cases. They are both okay. So I always give this example. If you have a first class ticket to an airplane, you go in and you find your old girlfriend sitting in economy. You tell the air hostess, you have room in both. Can I sit in economy? That's EB3. You can sit there. But you know what? I'm bored of her. Can I go to EB2? Can I go to first class back? Yes, you can. I'm bored. Can I go back to EB3? Absolutely.
Very simple English, Rajiv. Very nice.
It's very difficult not to understand this, right?
Yeah, you can't make that excuse.
I have an approved I-140 December 2020. If I change my job now before 6 months, before June 2021, will it affect my GC petition priority date? Can the primary revoke?
No. See, before January 17th, 2017, USCIS was completely messed up. Sometimes they said if we revoke the I-140 or the employer revokes the I-140, the priority date is gone. Then they said, no, it's okay. Then they went back and said, no, it's not okay. But January 17th, 2017, this question has been settled. So if your I-140 is approved on or after January 17, 2017, the moment it is approved, the priority date is yours. It cannot be taken away even if the employer revokes the I-140.
Okay.
The only time it can be taken away is if there is fraud or misrepresentation.
Okay. Have stamped H-1B visa valid until September 2021. Is it safe to travel to India for 1 month considering the remaining validity?
I'm not going to give an opinion on COVID-19 problems, but I don't know how they are going to be when you travel. If you have even 1 day remaining on your visa, you can come back into the country.
Okay.
There is this question for an employee who's on F1 and 2019 his lottery H1 got picked, but because he didn't submit the MSA from the client to the vendor document, they did not approve the petition and they raised the MTR and no reply from USCIS yet. So what's the best way for him to come, proceed and come out of the F1 to H1B?
Look,
Currently he's doing a PMBA and doing job at the financial sector. Not sure what that means.
I don't like MTRs very much. So it's like me going to Raghu and saying, Raghu, can I borrow $1,000? He says, no, get out of here. That's my denial. Then I go back to him, can I borrow $1,000? Same guy, same case. Why would they reverse themselves? Very rare. Okay. There are other ways. I would have filed a lawsuit. I wouldn't have gone back because it makes a lot more sense to take it to court. They should still consider it, because if it is on some grounds that are easily overcome, they have been changed, or the laws have been changed. What happens is, you see, I always tell people, when I started my practice in 1989, I used to write for USCIS. Well, I started as a litigator, but in between, my firm also did immigration work, so I helped out wherever they needed help. I used to write for USCIS. 20 years later, I realized I'm going to have to sue a lot of people. So I started writing for the judge. Whenever I submitted a case, I knew it was going to go to court. I always wrote for the judge. Past 2 years, I've been writing for the assistant US states, OSAs. Why? Because the lawyers have to look at it. I have to convince them, don't fight me, give me my case. Because I don't want to be stuck for 2 years fighting this case. Okay, so we always write for OSAs. Look at the case. Has it been written for the assistant US attorney's eyes? Is it a case that can be easily understood and won? I would take it to court.
So you're suggesting litigation instead of MTR?
Have it assessed at least for litigation. There are some very good litigators around, people whose work I really enjoy. I follow it. I enjoy it. Not one, there are like 200 of them.
So, Sudhakar, is
one last question. What are the chances of getting H-1B approved for wage level 2 employee with US masters?
Very good. Simple answer.
Okay. Thank you, Rajiv.
Yeah.
It's 1.5 hours of your time. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And Sudhakar ji, I'm going to connect with you about my students. Okay.
Sure, sir.
I got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them.
We love to help them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Sudhakar.
1,200 companies. Each company takes one. It's 1,200 students we can help.
We are all set. Oh, so good. So good to hear that. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for joining the webinar. Many thanks to our platinum sponsors, AAS Insurance Services, CPAL, Lobster, Thomas B. Allen, OnBlick, Vital Global, TrackX, and then Diamond sponsor, AG Fintax, OnBlick, for making this happen. You all have a good night, and we'll come back with another attorney first Friday of each month, especially geared for employees. And Rajiv, thank you very much. A lot of information, and H1B community is indebted to you for all your responses and getting them in the right direction in this session. It's a wonderful session. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you
all.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you all.